but allowing us to tell our own stories and have pride.
That sense of longing for belonging is so strong in all of us.
By memory, I could probably draw the outline of the mountains that surround me. I know all the rivers and creeks. I know the people who live here.
They encouraged me to just be me and do me.
Colorado is home to so many different landscapes, including more than 32 million acres of farmland.
The days were long and the rows were longer.
The land produces everything from mushrooms, potatoes, to lettuce and corn.
We're passionate of who we are, where we come from.
And more than 195,000 people help bring those foods to our table.
On your table, every single day.
I'm Sonia Gutierrez. Tonight, we're meeting farm workers, the people whose work touches all of our lives, and yet their stories are rarely told. Stories about their health and safety, both at home and at work. Over the past couple of months, we've met people with deep pride in what they do, and people who have experienced a lot of loss.
You get in, you come in like around 6:30 or 7 in the morning. You know, I'm on the ground and bend over cutting lettuce, cutting 2 rows, just throwing the lettuce, wrapping them, putting them in bags. When you're out in the field, it's like nobody cares what you are, what you're doing. You know, you can be you can laugh out loud.
David Ramon Miguel says he started working in the lettuce fields in Center, Colorado when he was just a teenager. His family had moved to Guatemala after his parents were deported. Then David's uncle, Miguel Francisco, brought him back to the U.S., took him in, and took him to work.
He brought me at a young age and he took us out there and he would help us. He would teach us what to do.
Every summer I would work in the fields with my dad. Everybody knew him as Pancho.
Minga Francisco is David's cousin. David's uncle, Miguel,
that was his nickname, Pancho. Panchito, Pancho.
Or Pancho, was Minga's dad.
It was hard. It was hard work, and I thought, oh my gosh, how do you guys wake up in the morning and think, I want to do this?
For years, the family traveled across the country working in different farms.
He said eventually, my mom was tired of that migrant life, and she decided, we're going to stay here in Center. So they settled down in Center, and they both found jobs in potato warehouses. I remember my dad, he was so dedicated to working. He would work up to 12 at night sometimes. He was there until basically his last days.
Miguel Francisco's last days,
it was end of April, beginning of May,
came in the spring of 2020.
When the pandemic, was getting closer to home.
One by one, members of the family started getting sick.
My dad was in denial. He's like, no, I just have a cold. I'm always coughing. It's okay. Like, I'm fine. I'm okay. And we're like, Dad, I know you might feel okay, but, it's protocol. Please go get tested. He refused.
Miguel worked at the Mountain King potato warehouse in Center, and Minga says her dad had been told he had to give 2 weeks' notice if he was going to miss work. She now knows he was legally entitled to paid sick time, something she didn't know then.
He said, I'm not sick. I am fine. I'm going to work. He would grab a towel, freeze it overnight, and then in the morning, right before walking into the warehouse, put it on his forehead for a few minutes, get his temperature check, and walk right in the doors.
Minga admits it was a huge risk for her dad to go into work sick. But in her dad's eyes, he had no other choice as the family's main breadwinner.
Well, when word got out that we tested positive for COVID, they told him, I'm sorry, we know your family's sick. We need you to go home. And I remember he was upset. He thought, who told him? And we're like, it's not like we went out there and said, hey, we have COVID. Because, sadly, it was embarrassing at that time. We were one of the first few families here to get sick with COVID. One day he told my other brother that he was living with at that time, he told him, hey, I do not feel well, please take me to the hospital. So my brother took him in, and that was the last time we got to see him.
Miguel Francisco was just 56 years old. He wasn't the only one working at the potato warehouse who got sick. Health officials said dozens of people tested positive in the outbreak at Mountain King.
Things have changed now, and it's so much different. My mom is now working at that same warehouse, and I see the difference just from my mom. Like now, okay, if I'm feeling sick, I just have to call him the night before or that morning. And I want to say it was that because They realized, oh my gosh, you know, if we would have let this person stay home, maybe all of these other people wouldn't have gotten sick, or, you know, things could have turned out differently.
We asked several times to interview Mountain King managers about sick time procedures when the pandemic began. They did not respond in time for our broadcast deadline.
When those big outbreaks were happening, it was shutting down everything.
Nicholas Lara is the health engagement coordinator for Valley-wide Health Systems. Their mobile clinic provided testing during the COVID outbreak in the area, and now it's bringing the vaccine to farms.
Again, the farmers have been really quick to being in touch with us and getting our staff out there mobilized to provide those vaccinations.
Valley-wide says it has vaccinated about 1,000 farm workers so far, mostly with the one-dose Johnson & Johnson shot. And it seems workers are well aware of the risks they face. Lara says at each of the farms the mobile clinic has visited, 100% of the workers have agreed to be vaccinated.
Dramatically changes the way that they live on a day-to-day basis, just having the vaccine. You know, they can operate a little bit more freely without being masked up the entire time in those dormitory style living situations. It's almost like a better thing for them to get the vaccine.
For Minga Francisco, her mother and her sons,
they loved him. They loved him.
The vaccine represents hope. Hope COVID-19 won't take any more from them than it already has.
I was a daddy's girl, as you can tell in these pictures. He always had me in his arms.
The virus took Miguel Francisco, a man known to his community as Pancho.
And he was really young then.
A man who showed his family how much he loved them by going to work. Now Pancho's nephew is honoring his memory by doing the same.
I was a teacher, you know, and recently got unemployed and decided, you know what, let me just go back to the fields. He'd probably be all happy that I'm actually out here, you know. He was a really good guy. Awesome man.
COVID-19 added another element of risk to agricultural work, a profession that is already known to be one of the most dangerous jobs around. This spring, in northern Colorado, a workplace accident cost a dairy worker his life and helped mobilize a call for change. It had only been 6 weeks since Juan Panzo Temoxle started working at Shelton Land and Cattle in Weld County.
911, what is the address of your emergency?
Yeah, 229.
It only took 6 weeks for him to encounter one of the most horrendous dangers a dairy worker can face.
I have an individual, an employee, that fell into a manure pit in a piece of equipment.
A liquid manure pit.
Is he awake?
No.
Is he breathing?
No.
Are you able to get him out, Jason?
No, we cannot get him out of the cab. So the door's jammed shut.
Are you able to
We're
get
still working on it.
inside of the cab with him?
What's that?
Is someone able to get inside of the cab with him at all?
No.
March 30th, 2021. A Weld County Sheriff's deputy learns Juan was training on a manure vacuum. The sheriff's office blurred this video before they gave it to us. It showed paramedics performing CPR on Juan.
Okay, are you I'm the owner. Okay. Do you know what happened? Yeah, so gentleman here was operating this piece of machinery. The black one? Yeah, the black piece.
Juan was inside when that massive machine ended up in a 12-foot pool of cow waste and started to sink.
I don't know if he misoperated the vehicle and plunged it into the pit or what, but obviously the piece of machinery went into the pit here, and the cab was completely closed up. 2 people jumped into frigid liquid to try to save Juan.
He went in the water to try to save him?
Yeah. Okay.
But those rescue efforts failed. These are the 2 men who tried to pull Juan from the pit. One of the would-be rescuers told the deputy what he saw.
He was on the front end of this piece of equipment that he was training the guy, and I was standing right over here. He was training him? Yeah. So I was standing right over here working on this valve, and it popped in. So he jumped off the side of it as it came over the edge, and then I jumped in to try to pull this guy out of the cab.
The man who's talking, employee Taylor Cross, told investigators in a written statement he saw the equipment Juan was driving back up, approach the curb at a higher rate of speed, hit the curb, then broke through the emergency stop. Then he wrote, it started sinking into the pit.
So when you guys, was the door locked? No, so with the pressure of I was able to work the latch, but I could not pull the door open.
The Weld County Coroner's Office told us Juan's cause of death was anoxic brain injury due to drowning. They ruled it an accident. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, opened an investigation which has not yet been completed.
It's going to be considered a crime scene until an investigator does his thing.
Weld County Sheriff's Department, who we're following on the body cam here, closed their investigation because they were only looking for criminal activity, and a deputy wrote that what happened to Juan was purely an accident. Juan's family thinks more could have been done to protect him.
Toda la familia se puso a llorar de que esto, porque no fue normal. Si estuviera enfermo es otra cosa, ¿sabes? Sabía que uno está enfermo, ¿no? Pero así de accidente, de repente, no. Sí nos dolió mucho.
Alfredo Panzo Temoxtle is Juan's brother. He says Juan had only been in the States for a year and a half.
Quería hacer otra casa. Ya tiene uno, pero dice que quiere hacer otro. Pero le gustaba hacer. Y pues, él estaba luchando apenas. Estaba pagando.
He came to the U.S. hoping to earn enough money and build his family a home in Mexico. He was almost done saving up what he needed when he died. Instead, he left behind his wife and 3 kids, ages 11, 7, and 5.
Ella pues, lloraba, no quería tampoco. Es que no puede ser, pero aquí ya nos dijeron que ya no se puede más.
He says Juan's widow is still in shock over what happened. We reached out to Shelton Land and Cattle. While they declined an on-camera interview because of the ongoing investigation, they did provide a written statement, saying in part, "We cannot adequately express this deep sadness we feel over the accident that involved one of our employees. Our sympathy is with the family as we all mourn his loss. Safety protocols and physical barriers were in place at the time of the tragedy, and our team is working with the Weld County Sheriff's Office and OSHA in full cooperation with their efforts as the investigation of this truly unfortunate incident continues." What happened to Juan may seem like a freak accident, but it has happened before in other dairies across the country. In fact, Rocky Mountain PBS found records of at least 10 incidents like this one, investigated by OSHA in 8 states, dating back to 1997. Each involved workers dying after their equipment or vehicles ended up in manure pits on dairy farms.
In agriculture, they have really some of the highest workplace fatality rates and workplace injury rates compared to any other industry in the United States.
Bethany Alcater works with the National Center for Farmworker Health. She says despite these known dangers, there are few specific regulations placed on farms and dairies when it comes to worker safety.
It's just a dangerous industry, and so if there's not these enforcement mechanisms and if there's not the resources to build in the safety structures, it becomes really difficult.
In the other 10 cases we reviewed of deaths similar to Juan's, OSHA handed down initial fines to employers that averaged just about $6,800. Fines ranging from $1,500 to more than $13,000 per incident. And there may be even more incidents we don't know about because OSHA doesn't investigate or track every farm worker's death.
It's a little bit of a Wild West. Yeah, employers have a legal general duty to protect the health and safety of their workers, but without the presence of having like really specific rules that the employer has to follow, it's really difficult for OSHA to do very much. It's really not OSHA's choice. They're very limited on their manpower.
OSHA confirms it had not inspected Shelton Land and Cattle in the 5 years before the fatal accident. At the state level, Colorado's Department of Public Health and Environment regulates and inspects dairy farms, but it has the authority to focus on food safety and environmental impact, not workplace safety.
No tenía experiencia, pero la irresponsabilidad de que no pusieron a alguien experto con él a enseñarle.
Juan's nephew, Martin Quiawa, says he has worked on 5 dairy farms. He wishes his uncle had received more training on the vacuum he was driving, and he wishes the pit had been surrounded by some sort of barrier he says he's seen in other dairies, like tall barriers made of stone.
Si eso existiría, yo pienso que tal vez no moriría.
Advocates for farm workers in Colorado cited Juan's death while rallying behind a farm workers' Bill of Rights at the state capitol.
Congratulations to all the hard work that went into this bill.
It creates some basic workplace protections for farm workers, including the right to unionize, take water breaks during hot summer days, and potentially earn overtime pay. Governor Jared Polis signed it into law in June.
This is about people. This is about the fact that they can't even bring up that they have unsafe work environments.
House Representative Yadira Carabeo was one of the co-prime sponsors of the bill.
It seems like may have been the case on this dairy farm when somebody with no training was put directly in a position where they ended up dying. So it's an important first step in acknowledging that agriculture cannot function without these workers. It's not just about who owns the farm, it's about who works the farm.
While it's not clear that anything in this Bill of Rights would have prevented what happened to Juan, lawmakers and advocates hope they are creating safer and healthier workplaces for people like him, a father who came to our country hoping to build a home for his family, a father who will never come home again.
Necesito que le ayuden porque tiene familia y los dejó chiquitos, pues. Eso es lo que yo quiero que les ayuden.
As we traveled, we met so many people dedicated to the work of farming. In Center Colorado, Ignacio Cebello is still working lettuce fields at 80 years old. And we met people who are dedicated to helping workers like him find a comfortable place to call home.
So we're basically at a parking lot for mobile homes, where a lot of or agriculture workers or migrant workers live here.
It's just before 8 p.m. in Alamosa, Colorado.
They're not the greatest condition.
Many farm workers are getting home from work. Amalia Baltazar, promotora del Valle de San Luis, an advocate for agricultural workers, is showing us around the neighborhood.
They drive either to Center, to Monte Vista, or going down to south for to work in the fields.
She says people work 10 to 16-hour work shifts almost daily, and yet she says this is often the best they can afford to live in.
There's no heating, there's no air, there's holes in their floor, and mom and dad worry about them getting hurt. This is where they live.
When we asked farm workers about their living conditions, so many said they're blessed to have what they have.
Por ganar dinero, pues, estamos haciendo todo el trabajo, lo que sea posible.
For 15 years, Rafael Cruz Garcia has worked as a farm worker in Alamosa. He lives in a small apartment with his grown son.
Me gusta, en primer lugar, hay trabajo. Segundo lugar, está muy tranquilo y no hay mucho problema.
Life here is very different from his home country in Guatemala.
No tengo mi familia completa aquí, la verdad. Yo estoy solo, mi esposa está en Guatemala.
Although he's happy to live in a place with a lot of work, that means he's away from his family.
Venimos para trabajar, no nomás para pasar el tiempo, ¿verdad?
And to hear him say that earlier is, I have everything that I need. Why? They have families in their countries that might not have a roof over their head, that might not have a plate of food to feed their children at the end of the day.
In Alamosa, affordable housing is hard to come by. When harvest season comes around and a lot of new farm workers move into town, housing is even harder to find.
The demand's there, but the housing isn't.
Raymond Hurtado understands that issue well. He's the project director for San Luis Valley Farmworker Housing, one of the largest organizations providing more than 130 housing units for farm workers in the area. Rental units called Tierra Nueva.
I think it's important to provide safe, clean, affordable housing for families.
Nos tocó muy buena suerte, gracias a Dios.
Fernando Armillo Mijares has lived at Tierra Nueva for more than a decade with his family. The opportunity to live somewhere like this is why he decided to make Center his home.
Hablemos de las dos cosas, ¿verdad? Del sitio y la suerte, ¿verdad? Porque pues ya ve que la suerte no es la de todos.
Some units at Tierra Nueva are smaller and more like dorms. Several farm workers share them, and not everyone has an opportunity to live here.
Right now we have zero availability.
Raymond says sometimes farm workers who are turned away have to live in a homeless shelter in Alamosa called La Puente.
Or they end up living all packed together in some rental property somewhere. So it's very difficult. It really breaks my heart to turn people away.
Raymond is hoping to expand, but the pandemic has delayed those plans.
I started since I was probably about 7 years old.
Center promotora Anita Rodriguez says she comes from a family of migrant workers who travel from community to community working different crops.
I mean, if anybody knows what it is to work out in the fields and now be paying for it, let me tell you, you would think that something has changed, and it hasn't.
She says a lot of workers she has helped don't have a comfortable place to live.
I mean, it's still sad when you go inside their housing and you see just beds, side by side, beds, and especially when you see a 70-year-old guy working in there, I mean, that is actually working out in the fields and stuff like that. You're just like, oh my God, that could be my dad.
It's work they do with honor, work they're proud of, work everyone we talk to agrees they deserve more for.
When they come here, they have belts that are like on the last button, the last hole, and by the time they leave, they have to make holes. That's how skinny they get.
Even though they work all day to help feed our communities, farm workers can't always afford food for themselves. We watched an effort to help feed the people who feed us. 3.5 miles from the Costco in Arvada is a farm that takes food right back into the hands that harvest the food we eat, farm workers. To the people whose job it is to grow our fruits and vegetables, but can't afford them themselves. Today, we're following our food. From frontline farming in Arvada to the food bank of the Rockies. We're telling the story of how community-based, values-first farms and organizations
This is our warehouse.
are trying to revolutionize the way we think about food.
We have a beautiful group of people here that are helping us pack food boxes. Why is it that we have these contradictions, that the people that grow our food can't afford the food that is in our communities?
At our third stop, Denver Food Hub, farmer Roberto Mesa says it has to do with low wages, lack of access, and economic opportunities.
A system that prioritizes profits over people.
Here, they fill over 200 boxes with fresh produce from other farms with similar visions, eliminating middlemen in distribution so more of the profit reaches farm workers. But he says it will cost consumers a little more.
That is the dignified price. That is how the people that grow that food can eat that food.
At the end of the day, for the consumer who's between 2 boxes of blueberries, the difference for us to support all of this is a few bucks?
Pretty much, yeah.
After the food and boxes are packed into the back of the truck, we drive more than an hour to Wiggins, Colorado, where Dolores del Campo with Project Protect Promotora Network is waiting in a 2-car garage. Within minutes, women from across northern Colorado help unload boxes and groceries. Almost just as fast, they finish packing the boxes with groceries from the food bank. 6 different cars are loaded with 30 to 40 boxes going to 6 different areas of northern Colorado.
Y como son gente que trabaja en la comunidad,
sabe qué gente necesita.
Dolores says each person taking boxes lives in the area they distribute. They know who needs help. Promotora Marcela Natividad took 40 boxes of groceries to a dairy in Wiggins.
O sea, es que aquí, las que nos den, aquí se nos acaban.
The groceries were all gone within an hour.
No, gracias a ustedes y disculpen.
3 families had to be turned away.
Eso es lo que no nos gusta.
She says that happens almost every time she delivers to this farm. And that's the hardest part, to see the need and run out of resources.
Es un trabajo muy difícil y yo digo, no es bien pagado. Mi esposo trabaja en una gorda. Por eso te lo digo.
As promotoras, their job is to look for farms that won't shoo them away. Sometimes, she says, they have to park on the street where farm workers pull out of work to give them the boxes of food.
Y nos quedamos en el camino y los íbamos a buscar y en paz y les hacemos señas.
They're willing to do whatever it takes to get farm workers fed.
Ellos, como dicen, ellos son los que les da el sudor de la frente y no pueden disfrutar.
Because, she says, they're worth it.
Nos ahorramos algo.
Chavelo Figueroa says he works 10-hour days with only 1 day off a week.
Hay cereales, pues también hay jugos, hay pan, y entre otras cosas.
He picks up food for his family every time the promotoras stop by the dairy.
A veces ni alcanza, tiene uno que pues de plano sacrificarse un poquito menos para que vaya alcanzando todo.
He says it's been 20 years since he started working here, and still, he has to make the tough choices between groceries or clothes for his 3 kids.
Es una mía y la de los demás y ya adelante va otra.
Transportation is also an issue for farm workers. Several of them have to carpool with Chavelo.
12 niños a lo mejor.
In total, he says 12 kids will feed off these boxes of groceries.
Estas ayudas nos están ayudando a muchos. Pues gracias a ellas que también dan su tiempo porque yo sé que no es fácil.
For those of us who expect fresh produce on store shelves, Chavelo hopes we recognize the sacrifice it took from the people picking them.
Reconocer, sobre todo reconocer el sacrificio de las personas.
Thank you to everyone who trusted us with their stories. For more on these stories and other Colorado voices, visit our website, rmpbs.org. For Rocky Mountain PBS, I'm Sonia Gutierrez.